Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of El Local. I'm your host, Eddie Gonzalez, and today we have Ignacio Mata. I'm excited because Ignacio is one, he is a veteran. Thank you, Ignacio, for your service. Also, he is a business owner, and he has been involved in a lot of things in the community since knowing him. And so I am very excited because he gets to come on and share his story. So again, Ignacio, welcome
Thank you.
to my show. I just wanted to dive straight into it, right? So, full disclaimer: this is take two. We just had a bit of a a little hiccup, but this is part of the story. This is part of the journey of the adventure with El Local. But Ignacio, take me through your upbringing. Born and raised where? Here in Santa Cruz, Watsonville.
I was born in Santa Cruz. We lived in Watsonville at the time. But when I was in, back then, Pajaro Middle School was Pajaro Elementary.
Mm-hmm.
Went to elementary in Pajaro. Eventually, when I was in, I believe, second grade, third grade, we moved to Santa Cruz off of Coast Road. And attended Natural Bridges Elementary. And then I attended Mission Hill Junior High.
Mission Hill Junior High, okay. And how long were you out there in Santa Cruz? So did you grow up the majority of your time up there? You said you lived at the early parts of your life here in Watsonville.
Yeah, we lived in Pajaro, I believe, at the time when I was born. And then up until I was, 14 maybe? We lived in Santa Cruz.
Oh, wow. So,
yeah, so
okay.
We moved back to Watsonville. I still kept going to Mission Hill, taking the school bus, or my dad used to work in Santa Cruz. Used to drop me off at the Mission Hill.
So you would from Watsonville still go over
Yeah.
there? Okay.
But eventually I ended up finishing 8th grade, I believe, at Pajaro Middle School. Back after I became a middle school.
Yeah.
And then attended Watsonville High.
Okay. How was that transition? From what year to what year, or can you recall, like, you're at a school, it's elementary, and then you come back and it's a middle school.
It's kind of weird.
Is it? Like, what was that? Like, do you know why that happened?
I don't remember why it happened, but it was just kind of different. You're like, wait, what happened here?
Yeah.
We're all little kids now. Everybody's a teen.
Yeah.
So,
and that's crazy because I never knew that. Like, this is the first that I'm hearing of it, and I have conversations with everyone all the time. And it's interesting, and it's also because I get to learn something new every single time. And the fact that Pajaro Elementary was a thing is kind of mind-blowing, So you were traveling over to Santa Cruz from Watsonville, and then you went to Pajaro Middle School when it became a middle school. What was that transition like? Like, what was your experience like as a Mexican American, going in Santa Cruz and then coming back?
Well, I mean, I spoke Spanish and English at that point, but predominantly when I was in Santa Cruz, I spoke a lot of English. And then moving to Watsonville, I started speaking a lot of Spanish. And then it got to the point where you're kind of forgetting either one,
Yeah.
Whether you're in Santa Cruz or in Watsonville, but you have to balance yourself and make sure that didn't happen.
Yeah.
But it was interesting.
Did you notice any kind of like discrimination, or not discrimination, but prejudice? Because as a Mexican American myself, I went to school in like Aptos, and I was my early childhood in Watsonville. So there's like a shift, right? And then there's that saying that sometimes you're too Mexican for the white people, and then you're too white for the Mexicans. Did you feel that? Did you experience any of that?
Not towards me, but I did see it happen. And I'm the type of person that I'm always been pretty straightforward and direct. But we did have students that really didn't speak English, but you could hear people talking to them about them in English, because they could understand it.
Yeah.
But to me, it's like, well, I can't let that happen,
Yeah.
So I would always have to step up and like, hey, make sure it stops, because to me, bullying, even bullying back then, was a big negative. We ended up when I was in Mission Hill, one of my friends committed suicide because of bullying. And when I was in Mission Hill, and to me, that was a big no-no, you know?
Yeah.
So whenever I saw that happen, I kind of stepped up and tried to stop it.
Yeah.
Because just because they don't speak English doesn't mean they had to be treated that way. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
No, and that's like I said, been a thing that I've noticed, you know, and I experienced it, you know, and sometimes I didn't know where was able to fit in, you know.
yeah.
So I understand that that's like it can be tough, but the shout out to you, you know. Sometimes, you know, people just stand by, you know, but it's rarely that those people that actually speak up, like, do, you know.
A lot of people just stand by and watch.
Yeah.
They don't do anything.
Yeah, and so fast forwarding, coming back to Watsonville, you know, for middle school and attending Watsonville High, what was that like? What was your teenage years growing up here in Watsonville? What were your fondest memories?
Fondest memories, being able to ride the bike from my house, even though we lived on Lewis Road, it was close enough to where it wasn't too far from town, from Pajaro. And hanging out with my friends, just they live down the road and get on our bikes, going to school, or on the weekends, you know. Something I couldn't do in Santa Cruz because we lived too far off out of town,
Yeah,
on a farm. So but that was one of the things, you know. You always feel like you were free. You know?
yeah. And I have that conversation a lot with people where it's just like back then, right? Like you don't have that sense of freedom now compared to back then. Even like our old timers, our older generation, you know. I still have. I'm consistently having conversations with people from like my dad's generation, even older. Like I remember when I could swim at the Pajaro River.
Oh, okay.
You know,
Yeah.
so like just that sense of freedom, like you said, like it's nostalgic, but it's kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
was there anything in Watsonville, something that stood out like a monument, or just like something that's not here no more that you miss that you would go back in time and
That I met that I don't know. I mean, there's things that were here before that they're not here anymore. That you remember, like the old Galaxy Theater on the corner of East Lake
oh yeah,
and Union. Remember going in there, going to Cassidy's Pizza back then, having them cut a pizza for us in small, like square, and then just bringing it into the theater, you know, and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But the old Galaxy Theater that was downtown, the Fox Theater when I was open, it was kind of nice because it was just downtown.
yeah,
Um,
and it was more alive back then.
it was more alive.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then they opened up the Green Valley, and that's when it kind of started dying.
Yeah.
So
You know, I remember Galaxy Theater. Like it was only 2 theater rooms, you know. But
Yeah.
like sometimes Fox would be packed, you know, and you just walk on over.
yeah.
You know, I mean, shoot, if I had that ability to bring back Galaxy Theater, I think I would.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, what was your you know, talked about your growing up, right, and all that. You had talked to me in the past that you had a story that led to becoming and joining the military. You know,
Yeah.
and so kind of run me through that. Like, what was that decision like? What made you want to join the military?
Well, I was in San Jose State at the time. It was my first year in San Jose State.
So not fresh out of high school.
Not fresh out of high school. I was working. I believe it was 2 full-time jobs. I was going to school full time, and halfway through the first year, my roommates or housemates at the time were like, "Hey, let's go and join the military," you know. I'm like, "Oh, let's go," and we ended up going to the Marine Corps recruiting office. And at the time, I wasn't doing so good in school because I was just working too much or involved in too many projects. And I didn't want to go back home and be a dropout, like, because I used to see a lot of people go back home and just not do anything with their life, you know. And when my buddies, they're like, when we started going through the process, all of them flaked out. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna do it.
Yeah.
And I ended up doing it, and I don't regret it.
Well, before that, was there any like in growing up in your teen years, like any type of like idea or just was it one of those like impulses like, hey, let's go do it, or was there like a seed planted in the past, like in your high school years, or just like, oh, hey, it's an idea that came up?
No idea. Never came up. It was just out of the blue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you were the only one. What do your buddies say now? Like, how does that conversation happen? Like, what, 20 years down later? Like, hey, you made it, dude. Like, you guys bailed out on me.
Yeah, well, I haven't really seen them because I was gone for a long time, and everybody went out and started their own lives. And but I saw them once, maybe like 10, 15 years ago, and they were pretty surprised.
Yeah.
But other than that, I just...
Was that like when you enlisted and you joined, that was like the last time you seen them?
No, a few years after, when I came back the first time, saw them, and they were like, oh, you're still here?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah.
Okay. And so what was the steps, right? Like, what's the timetable from the minute you enlist, right? So you go to the office, you sign up, right? From when you sign up to boot camp, how long do they give you? What's that process like?
It depends. I mean, it could be months or it could be weeks. To me, it was only about a month and a half.
So it's kind of short.
Yeah.
So how do you prepare for that? How did you prepare for it? Like,
I started working with a recruiter. I started going to the gym every day. I started running every day because I had to meet a weight requirement.
Mm-hmm.
I was only up by a few pounds. But up until the day I left, they had me at the gym.
Really?
Eating lettuce and water.
Lettuce and water.
Yeah.
What did your parents say about this? Like, did you tell them right away, or did you wait, or how did that conversation go?
I told them right away because I wanted them to prepare themselves. It was pretty hard on them. I was the first one in my family to go to a university, and then seeing me like leave it, leave that aside and going over here, it kind of affected them, but they supported me 100% no matter what.
Yeah.
So,
and I gotta ask you, I know that you have a bunch of siblings. Are you the eldest of the siblings?
No, I have an older sister.
Okay. So being, I guess, the two oldest siblings, your sister and a brother, how old were your siblings that were younger than you? Did they understand that? Were they of age where they're like, oh, my brother's going off to the military? Because did it change? Your parents supported you, but does it change your dynamic with your relationship with your siblings?
No, they were supportive. They were, most of them were at that point, and they're either, I think one of them was 18, and the other ones were 17, 16, and the youngest was like in the early teens, so they all kind of understood.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And take me through that day, right? That day that you're leaving. I mean, it's emotional. Yeah. Because boot camp is what?
Marine Corps boot camp is 3 months.
3 months?
3 months.
So you're not going to see them for 3 months. So what was that like?
It was rough. It was rough, but it was really emotional. I think for everybody. But it's just one of those things where, we had to do it.
At any point, did you just like want to bail out, or we were just committed to it?
I was committed to it. They picked me up, took me to the airport, flew to San Diego. I spent some time at the USO until the recruiters, other recruiters, or not actually, were there, and then the drill instructors until they showed up, and put us on the bus and took us to MC San Diego.
Wow! And that was all the training there for Marines, right? Oh, yeah. My cousin's husband, he was in the Marines as well. I think he's about your age too. So maybe off camera we'll talk about it. See if you know him. But yeah, no, he retired like 5 years ago, 6 years ago. So and I've known people and I've gone to school with people who did that as well. Joined the military, joined the Marines. And where does the Marines rank as far as military in the U.S. military? Because I hear that the Marines are the top notch, are the top.
Well, the Marines are the overall. Marines have to go through the hardest training. Boot camp's longer, training's longer. Because you do boot camp, then you do School of Infantry, Marine Combat Training. That's even before you're able to go to your MOS school, which is your basic school where you're going to learn whatever job you're going to do. So that's another, 2 months on top of that?
Yeah.
Maybe 3. And then you go to your MOS school, which could be another 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, but depending on what kind of career path you're heading to. And then you go to the fleet.
Yeah. And what did you want to go do? Like boot camp, did you have some sort of idea when you were there? Like, okay, this is what I want to do in the middle of boot camp, or do you just kind of like?
I went open contract.
Open contract. What does that mean?
Basically, when you go up in contract, I didn't choose anything. When you go up in contract, at the end, when you're in boot camp, before you graduate, they tell you what you're going to do. So at that time, there was 3 options: either a cook, infantry, or transportation.
Okay.
So I ended up getting transportation. That's what they chose for me.
Okay.
So,
Are you or you say that you wouldn't change it, right? And so do you think you wish you could have done something a little bit different or just kept it the same?
I don't regret it. I would just leave it like that.
Okay.
Because the moment you start thinking about it, you could imagine what if I went infantry?
Mm-hmm.
And being infantry in Iraq was, being anything in Iraq, whether you're a transportation, doctor, nurse, cook, whatever, you could have, anything could happen.
Yeah.
But being infantry, well, they're involved in everything, So I wouldn't change it. Everything happens for a reason, I believe. So.
And so being part of transportation, what did that entail, and like where did this take you, right? Because we've had conversations. You've pretty much been everywhere, almost about everywhere, So kind of take me through like the places you visited.
Well, my first duty station after MOS school was in Fort Leonard, Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
After there, they gave me the option. They choose. They basically tell you to choose three bases.
Mm-hmm.
I think I chose Hawaii first, Japan second, and Camp Pendleton.
And this is like across the world, like any base?
Any place. Any Marine Corps you have base, or a Marine Corps Air Wing. And I ended up choosing Hawaii first, but I ended up getting Japan, my second.
Uh-huh.
So I went to Japan I was supposed to be there 1 year, but I spent another 6 months. So I spent there 18 months because I extended for 6 months.
Yeah. That must have been nice.
It's nice because I was able to travel to a lot more places.
Okay.
I was able to go to Australia, Southeast Asia, South Korea, the Philippines, Thailand, the Mariana Islands, the middle of the South Pacific.
Yeah. Which I want to get into because I think that's the story that you had told me, right?
In the middle of the South Pacific. So it's quite a few places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure it was a culture shock, but like, what was your awe moment, right? Because you're visiting, you're traveling to all these places, you're being deployed, and you're here. What was your awe moment when? Because growing up in Watsonville, right, and those that know, Watsonville's small. We're in a bubble, right? We're in a bubble, and so anytime someone goes outside of Watsonville, outside the area, you get mind blown because there's people that I talk to that that still haven't been to San Jose, still haven't been, to these places like maybe like a couple miles down the road, And so, what was your awe moment like from leaving to Watsonville?
So I love history. I've always been a history buff. and just being able to travel to some of these places where major involvements during World War II, stuff you read, stuff that you never think you're gonna see, and able to see some of that history for yourself, it just like get you thinking. There's so many beautiful places out there, so much history.
Yeah.
Japan itself, but Australia. I mean, I never thought I was gonna go to Australia.
Yeah.
Spent several months there. Seeing the koalas, crocodiles, emus, dingoes. It's just like this is the stuff I read in books.
Yeah. That must be nice.
So, yeah, it's pretty nice.
Yeah. One story that you had told me, excuse me, is you went to which islands was it? Those islands.
Oh, it's in the Mariana Islands in Tinian. I was in Tinian.
Yeah. So you kind of gave me that story, and I really want to get into it because, like, to think that you're all the way across, middle of the ocean, Pacific, and the encounter that you have, with this person, kind of give me the story. Let people know what that experience was, because I think that's really cool.
So Tinian is an island in the South Pacific, part of the Mariana Islands. The larger island is Guam. You got Tinian and Saipan. During World War II, the Japanese had 4 large runways there.
Mm-hmm.
And after the Battle of the Philippine Sea, the United States took over the islands, and they constructed the largest air base during World War II there. So we, back in 2001, on February 2001, I believe, we went to Tinian because we were going to clear some of the airfields and do some training there.
Yeah.
We were there for a few months, but on the south part of the island, there's a little town. And every weekend they let us go out on leave, go to the town, go on jet skis, catch a ferry, go to Saipan.
Yeah.
So Saipan's a bigger island. They have malls, they got Hard Rock Cafe, you name it. They had everything like they have here. But the little island had a little Mexican restaurant. And
I bet that was big because you're in the middle.
We're in the middle of South Pacific, They had a little Mexican restaurant, and we went to it. And it was the owner was a younger lady, probably in late 20s, early 30s. Really nice, and she was just happy because she saw people there were Hispanic, her Mexican, and we started talking. Well, I started talking to her, and she's like, "Where are you guys from?" I'm like, "Well, we're out of Japan." We're like, "No, yeah, but where are you guys from?" Well, I'm from California. "Oh, I'm from California too." I'm like, "Oh, okay. Well, what part?" "Well, you probably won't recognize it. It's just a little town in the Bay Area."
Yeah.
And the Monterey Bay. I'm like, "Oh, really? Well, I'm from that area too." I'm like, "What town?" I'm from Watsonville. I'm like, "You gotta be shitting me! I'm from Watsonville too." And this is the owner of the little Mexican restaurant.
Yeah.
I'm like, "Nah, you're lying. You're just making that shit up." Like, "No, let me see your driver's license." And I pull it out. And then she pulls her out, in the California driver's license, like, what the hell? It was just a trip, and like, she had an address off Robert Rodriguez back in the day, and and ever since then, she was really nice. She hooked us up with food. It was just something you're not expecting out in the middle of the South Pacific Ocean. So,
I mean, that must have been amazing. I mean, just hearing that story is amazing.
It was like, what the hell just happened? Yeah, but it was something else. That's pretty interesting. That's pretty fun.
Yeah, and did she kind of give you a rundown or kind of story how she ended up there too, or
she ended up marrying someone from someone local to there. Back over there, they call them Chamorrans, and she married someone from there. Her husband is from the area. That's why she ended up moving over there.
Okay,
but really nice family. Really nice family. It was just tripped me out that she was from here.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I mean, you're in the middle of the ocean, a little small island, and then you just run into someone from your hometown.
Yeah,
and so I love that story. That's when you told me that, I was like, that's neat. That's awesome.
Yeah, that was one for the books.
Yeah. And so, how long did you spend in that area?
I think it was about 3 months.
3 months, okay.
We did a lot of training, a lot of clearing the airfields. It was about 3 months.
Okay.
Actually, no, 2 months. I'm sorry about that. It was about 2 months.
Okay. And how long were you in the military?
I was in the service for, let me see, 8 years and 9 months, I believe.
Okay.
28 days, a few, 28 days, a few hours, something like that.
When you originally signed up, like how long did you sign up for?
I signed up for 4 years active duty and 4 years in the Marine Corps in active ready reserve.
Uh-huh.
And then active ready reserve, basically, you don't deploy, you don't get activated unless a major incident happens. You report once in a while, but it was 4 years active duty and 4 years on the inactive ready reserve.
Yeah.
But I ended up doing 4 years active duty, 1 year in the Marine Corps Reserve, and then 4.5 years in the National Guard. I transferred from the Marine Corps Reserve. I was trying to go back to Iraq with them, in the Marine Corps Reserve, but they didn't have any local units here. The only unit was a recon unit and a military police unit in Alameda.
Uh-huh.
And I contacted them, and they said they weren't deploying or they didn't need any personnel. So when Hurricane Katrina happened, right about a month before Hurricane Katrina happened, some of the other Marines were like, "Well, let's join the National Guard. There's more opportunities. They're locally everywhere because most bigger cities have National Guard unit, so we could still serve. You know."
Is National Guards a different branch?
It's part of the Army National Guard.
Army National Guard. Okay, so different branches of the military. Then okay.
And we ended up transferring to the National Guard, and then Hurricane Katrina hit. I was working for the school district, the Potter Unified School District at that time, and I heard they were taking volunteers to go do search and rescue, and I contacted the National Guard office here in Fort Ord, and then they're like, "We're taking volunteers. We're not taking volunteers yet, but we'll put you on a waiting list." But within like 3 or 4 hours, they're like, "Hey, we're deploying." And I had given the principal at Renaissance High School, because I was working at Renaissance and at Waltham High. I gave him the heads up, "Hey, I'm gonna deploy. This is gonna happen." They're like, "No worries, just take care of yourself." I went to Target because there was a lot of looting in New Orleans. I went to Target and bought hygiene stuff, first aid kits, stuff like that, and just packed them up in my sea bag and reported to the armory in the morning. So,
so you were there in the aftermath of Hurricane.
Within like 2 days after the hurricane.
Okay, man, what was that like? 'Cause
there's stuff that you wish nobody could have seen. You know, it was worse than some of the other countries I've been to. You know, I've been to a few. I've been to Iraq. I've been to a few other countries where there've been conflicts, and but seeing that here in the U.S. is like, it hits you.
Yeah.
You know, seeing people asking for help, screaming for help. People that didn't leave even after days after the hurricane, and because we searched block per block. And I think it was San Bernard Parish and the California High Patrol ended up making it to the area, and they were searching houses with us too. So it was tough. It was tough. People asking for Infamil or for like baby powder. Not baby powder, baby food. Because I guess babies, all kinds of babies use different types of powders.
Yeah.
Or it was hard watching that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember that time. I know that a couple months after everything happened, I know a lot of families, they kind of dispersed them into places across the United States.
Yeah.
I know that when I was in middle school, I think there was like a couple kids that came from New Orleans. They brought their families over. They sent them over here. So yeah, I can imagine. I mean, what we saw on TV at the time, just from what you're describing, just doesn't. I can't fathom. What that was like.
I mean, it's one thing because I remember they said people are looting, and people were looting because as soon as we landed in Bella Chase Naval Air Base, like early in the morning, and as soon as one plane landed, another one took off. One landed, one took off. And you're talking about a military cargo planes.
Yeah.
We took a KC-130, 141. I think it's a refueler, Air Force refueler. uh, loaded with pallets in the middle. We couldn't even walk in the middle. We had to get on the pallets and just to get to our spaces. So you're sitting in the airplane. Your top is really warm. Your bottom is really cold. Um, and we landed. We unloaded the whole airplane, and then that was all night, all night, all night. And when we landed, I mean, there must have been like 10,000 troops there, maybe.
Yeah.
Uh, and in the morning, there was upwards to 20.
Yeah.
And there was maybe like 900 buses, and just to take everybody into the city. It was a big operation.
Did you ever go to the Superdome?
We saw it from the bridge as we were going into the city. Hundreds, I mean thousands of people around that area. Helicopters landing,
Yeah.
or you could see Marine helicopters trying to land, and there's people and they're trying to push them back because
Yeah.
they need to land. And it was hard to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
hard to see. We immediately went into a Walmart parking lot, and we set up a perimeter. And as soon as we set up a perimeter, there's people walking out with big ass screen TVs,
Yeah.
and immediately got arrested. But it's one thing if you're trying to find food or medication, because they I believe they said it that if you're going to stores and taking the necessities like food, medication, stuff for the babies, we'll let it fly. But once you start going electronics or anything else like that, then it's not
Yeah.
something you need.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So
Taking advantage of it. Yeah. Yeah. That's wild. That's wild. That is wild. You had mentioned that you deployed to Iraq as well. How, what was the gap between deployments and coming back? Like, what was your longest tenure deployed, and how did that change? Like, every single time you left and came back, like, how did that change? Like, you know,
So the first time I deployed to Iraq was with the Marine Corps. During the right before the initial invasion, I was with a medical unit. The second time I deployed to Iraq was with the National Guard. And the first time I deployed with the Marine Corps was 6 months. No, actually, take it back. It was 4 months. And the second time I deployed with the National Guard was 18 months. So, but when I came back from Iraq the first time, I was already towards the end of my enlistment. I asked to go back.
why did you ask to go back?
Well, at the time I wasn't married. I didn't have kids, nothing like that. Plus, I believed in the mission we were doing, because being in Iraq the first time, I was with a medical unit. So we provided a lot of assistance, whether it was coalition troops, American or foreign, also civilians, and even APWs, enemy personnel of war. But seeing the civilians and how they reacted with us, how happy they were at the time, I believe we were doing the right thing.
Yeah.
But obviously, I mean, you're young, you don't know a lot.
So you're a bit of you would say you're naive.
Yeah,
you're naive,
you could say that, yeah. But I mean, being with a medical unit, we did a lot of work, I was part of a shock trauma platoon 10. Well, actually, I was part of the 1st HHB, 1st Medical Battalion. I wasn't even supposed to go into Iraq, but one of the East Coast units, shock trauma platoon 10, had a Marine that kind of lost it, and they were asked the headquarters, which was our unit, to send out a replacement. And I was the SEAL's driver at the time, and my staff sergeant like, well, you're the more, I believe you could do the right thing, and so I'm sending you. And then my SEAL was like, what are you sending him for? He's my driver. And we're like, well, he's one of the most squared away Marines,
Yeah.
So I ended up joining an East Coast unit. I was the only West Coast Marine with an East Coast unit.
Was that common, or was it like rare?
I mean, you got when in every unit you got Marines from everywhere, every part of the world, every freaking part of the U.S. I mean, they're U.S. citizens, but from every type of nationality you can imagine. But when it comes to being part of a unit itself, shock trauma platoon was from the East Coast, and we were from on the West Coast, which is not common. It's common to have people in one unit from everywhere, but it's not common to have at that time. It wasn't common to have just one person or send one person from one unit.
Yeah.
You know.
Because I mean, they build a relationship.
Yeah.
They're a unit. They're I guess you could say a family.
Yeah.
Right. And then an outsider coming in.
Yeah.
Was that difficult? Like how long did it take for them to embrace you? Because I mean that.
Well, we had no choice. We had to
Yeah.
do it because when we pushed into Iraq the first time, our shock trauma platoon was about 29 medical personnel, which is corpsmen, nurses, and I think we had a heart surgeon or a doctor, or two doctors with us. One was a heart surgeon, and I forgot what kind of doctor the other one was, and 6 Marines. So it's 29 medical personnel, Navy personnel, and then 6 Marines. We were their bodyguards. We were their ambulance drivers, their engineers. Whatever they needed, we got it done.
Yeah.
So when we pushed in the first time with that unit, it was we were part of a 350 vehicle convoy.
Yeah.
And that was maybe within hours of the initial invasion, like an hour or two after the whole thing with the 507th Maintenance Company, Army convoy that got ambushed in Nasiriyah, where PFC Jessica Lynch got captured. So we went into Iraq a few hours after that. It was still pretty. I mean, it was really hot.
Yeah.
Everywhere you went, it was just.
How do you keep cool? Because it's what in the hundreds, I'm pretty sure, right?
Well, I mean, it's hot, but I mean, after a while, you kind of get used to it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing. I don't know if you noticed, but people in the Middle East always wear a lot of like long clothing. What keeps them cooler?
Yeah.
So, it works to some extent with us, but it's harder because we have body armor.
Yeah.
But you get used to it.
Yeah.
It's like everything.
I gotta ask, and I've asked you before, but let the people know. Camel spiders. Camel spiders, are they as big as the pictures online?
Some of them are big. Some of them are smaller, but yeah, they're pretty big. Yeah, it's a trip when you see them for the first time. And they're fast.
Are they?
Yeah.
Okay, because like I've never believed it. Right? Like, oh, it's camel spider. What is that? And I looked at a picture. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, they're fast and they're big.
But they're not poisonous.
Not from what I understand.
Okay, and they don't like really attack humans or anything. They just kind of
really. They just do their own thing.
Yeah. Okay. How was the biggest you've ever seen one? Like, what? How big? How big did you see it?
Well, there was these lizards. They're kind of like iguanas, I guess. Like desert lizards. They're like the lizards are like that big, or even. I mean, they could depend. Camel spiders could be like.
Like a foot and a half.
Something like that. The biggest one. Well, I mean, the legs extend. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one spider. I don't even know if it's a spider. It's just like looks like an alien from like Alien. That little.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
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 I don't know. I don't ever wish to ever see one of those.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay. So you spent time out there in Iraq. You know, you adjusted obviously over time there.
Well, you kind of adjust, or either adjust or you just get numb to it. It could be either one, you know. Because I know the second time we went to Iraq, I was with the National Guard, but we were going to be doing convoys.
Yeah.
And even though I had been there, even though I was one of the few in my unit that had been there before, prior combat experience, it still hits you. The moment you pass that line, you know, from Kuwait into Iraq, it gets to you. You know, you're like, oh shit.
It's like you got to put your game face on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And being more experienced than some of the younger soldiers, you know, you can't show any weakness. You can't show any emotion. You can nothing like that, because if they see you like that, then it's gonna get to them, you know. But not everybody's like that. And in my unit, I was lucky that in my National Guard unit, I mean, it must have been like at least 8 of us that were prior service Marines, 8 to 10 of us.
Yeah.
So we kind of knew how to do everything. We kind of knew how to act, what to expect, how to react. So, and our staff sergeants, our platoon sergeants, have been in Iraq too. So that helped us out a lot.
Okay.
So, and that one was a trip too.
Yeah. What was your rank? What?
I was a corporal.
Corporal.
Yeah.
Okay. You never. What's the step? What's like?
It's like E4. It's because I always spotted with my higher ups. So Yeah, that's why.
Okay, because when you enter, you're what?
You private. Anyone?
Private.
Yeah.
So private, and then private goes.
E2, E3, E4.
Okay.
I got I got everything to be a sergeant, an E5, but it's because I always butt heads with everybody.
You don't seem like the type.
No. But I mean, if I know they're doing the wrong thing, and
Yeah.
I know they're doing not doing it, and it could affect someone else or hurt someone else, I mean, I'm not gonna just sit there.
Well, like you said earlier, right? You're against bullying.
Yeah.
You know that hits you, you know, personally. You know, and you step up and you say something. You're not one to just like sit back and let things happen. You have a voice and you're gonna use it.
Yeah. And plus,
So
I was the only in the National Guard, even in the regular army, you have the E4s could either be a specialist or corporal. Corporals are more for like infantry units or like a tank units or tank battalions or something that's in combat type of environment.
yeah.
In the Marine Corps, no. In Marine Corps, E4s are all corporals. In the Marine Corps, you're considered a non-commissioned officer at that point. And especially in the Army, which is an E4, it's not. But a corporal is. But some of us who were corporals, they transferred from the Marine Corps to the National Guard. They tried taking our chevrons away.
Yeah.
But some of the other soldiers that were there, they had more experience and more rank than us. Like, no, because they served their time and they ended up earning their stripes, you know. So when I deployed to Iraq, I was the only corporal in my company. Everybody above me was a sergeant or a specialist down, but I was the only corporal. And it's funny because they gave us whenever we came back, it's a pamphlet with all the information, the unit, all the members.
Yeah.
And I'm the only corporal on there, and everybody's like, "What the hell is that?"
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an experience.
Yeah. How has, I mean, I can't speak on it, you know, but from when you enlisted to when you got out of the military, how who's Ignacio? Like, you're obviously not the same person, right? But how have you grown, and how has that person, you know, how has Ignacio from enlisting changed to Ignacio now that's sitting in front of me, and what have you learned?
Do more for each other. We take everything for granted here in this country, and people do a lot less sometimes in other countries than what we do here.
Yeah.
Look after each other. There's so much poverty, so much sadness in the world. You know, so much stuff going on, and here we just don't. We're always in a hurry. We're always in a rush, and we always forget to look or check on everybody else. You know, ever since I came back, I've dedicated myself to. I mean, I've dedicated myself to public service most of my life, but to try to do a lot more, try to help a lot more. You know.
Yeah.
Whether it's just volunteering for events or volunteering for the food bank or nonprofits need help, whatever the case may be, you know, every little thing you do, no matter how small the detail is, could be a big effect to someone or someone.
Yeah,
you know.
And that's a great point of view, because personally, and I can kind of get into it a little bit, but I feel like if anyone has anything to say, right, just kind of in general with our country and with wisdom, like you're sharing, is someone that has served, right? Because that's a different level of citizen, you know, a person, you know. So and I guess in my way, I'm saying again, thank you, you know, for what you've done, because you know it's not an easy task to do.
Yeah.
You know,
it's not easy.
It's not, you know, and like I said, I could only fathom what your experience has been, you know. And so what would you tell or advice would you give someone that's wanting to go into the armed forces? Because I've juggled with that idea too when I was in in college. You know, I was kind of like, I finished football. I didn't have a job. I was kind of like, what do I do? You know, and that idea pops into a young person, you know, I'm pretty sure all the time, you know? So what advice do you give to them? Like, how do you advise them to approach this, you know, wanting to join the military, the U.S. Armed Forces?
You know what? I tell a lot of them, you know what? If you have the opportunity to go to school first.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because if you go to school, get an education, and still you want to serve, then you become an officer. You know, you have a better. I don't want to say better benefits, but you have a little bit more opportunities. You know, especially if you want to be a leader and lead troops. But go to school first. You know, but if you don't have that opportunity or you don't want to do that, do your research. Do your research. What are you looking for? What's your main motive of joining? Think about that, you know. Is it going to benefit you? What are your pros and cons to everything?
Mm.
But it's like a lot of people, why want to join the Marine Corps? Like, the Marine Corps is not for everybody.
Yeah.
The Marine Corps is not easy.
Did you have anyone drop out when you were in boot camp?
When we went to boot camp in the first, because you do paperwork for the first 54 hours plus, you know, and it's right before you start actual training, and after you finish all the paperwork, like the first day, they tell you if you want to get out, this is the time. Go to the back of a room and talk to the person back there. There were several people that got up. You know, the Marine Corps is not for everybody.
Yeah.
And then once you're inside doing training, you're in boot camp. People find ways to hurt themselves to get out because it's pretty demanding. It's pretty tough. And that's why I tell them, do your research on all the branches, whether it's the Army, the Air Force, the Navy, the Marine Corps, or even the Coast Guard, because some of those might be more better for you, better options for you. Plus, some of them have better opportunities or better opportunities than others. You know.
Yeah.
If you want to be a doctor, go to the Navy, or the Air Force. They have good doctors or educational programs. You know. You want to file pains? Go to the Air Force, you know. Because a lot of people want to, I want to join the Marine Corps. I'm like, what do you want to do? Well, I want to do this. Or what do you want to do? What are your plans for 4 years after you get out, you know? And they're like, well, I want to do this. Well, go to the Air Force for that instead, you know. Why are you going to go to the Marine Corps? And, well, a lot of people say, like, well, I want to go to the Marine Corps because it's the best. Well, yeah, it's considered the best, you know. But it's hard. It's tough. Yeah. But if you don't see yourself, depending on what kind of type of career you're looking for, the Marine Corps is not going to be for you. But do your research, talk to recruiters, talk to other veterans. But even then, talking to recruiters, they might not tell you the whole thing. So talk to veterans from different branches and have them tell your experiences, you know, because everybody's experience is different. Yeah. If you're in the armed services, you need to take advantage of every opportunity they offer you. Yeah. And sometimes they'll talk trash about the services, but at the same time, they didn't take any opportunity, you know, they got offered. So just talk to the people.
How has it changed? Like, what have you seen since you served to now? Has there been changes in the service? Is it kind of like the same? Like when, you know, because you said like everyone's experience is different, right? But overall, have you seen how it's changed from when you entered to now?
To at one point, I think it got more demanding. It's not as easy to join anymore.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It could be a combination of both. I remember after the crash in 07, 08, something like that, a lot of people lost their jobs, and you were getting doctors, you were getting lawyers, you were getting engineers joining the military because they know they were going to get a steady income. So that it became more demanding, you know. It was more competitive to get in there. But after a while, I mean, it's I don't know how after several years after that, I don't know exactly how it went. But I think it's still pretty demanding. It's still pretty competitive. as long as you don't have a really bad record or anything like that, possibly could get in. Before it was easy to get in even with a bad record, but then
Yeah.
after a while, I was like, sorry, but no, there's too many people that have better records than you. You know. But yeah, but after the crash, 07, 08, you were getting, like I said, you were getting engineers, lawyers, doctors, nurses, whatever the case may be, and
Yeah.
they had really good educations, and they became really competitive, and they weren't just taking anyone.
Yeah.
And nowadays, I mean, the technology is a lot better than back then, so you have people with different types of backgrounds
Yeah.
that the military might need, you know?
Yeah. Does it still have? Like I said, it's hard to get in. There is this. Oh my gosh, this guideline or this thing where it's you can't join if you're the only male in your family, because you're the only one to carry the name, right? Is that a thing? Is that?
Well, I was the only male in my family. I have all sisters, so
Oh, and they still okay.
so
And it's supposedly also like you're not allowed to join if you have flat feet.
yeah, I think I've heard that before too.
Okay, yeah. There's different those.
Yeah,
guidelines.
there's different things, yes.
Yeah. Okay. And
There's different things there's different things that could disqualify you, even though after you're accepted, they could disqualify you and they could get you out.
Okay. Yeah, that's crazy. No, yeah, I mean it's, and again, this is your again. It's hard for me to speak or ask, right? Because like, it's one of those things where someone who served, like they've gone through a lot, right? You've gone through a lot, and it's hard to ask because it's you. I don't know how to put it. I don't know how to put it. And I'm gonna lie. It's a little bit difficult for me to ask because, like I said, like you've obviously gone through so much. You know, how do you? Well, sorry everyone. Sorry, this is a little bit difficult. So, and then we'll transition into your the candles and everything. But what was it like after it was all said and done? What was the difficult part? Transitioning back to civilianship, and what did you do to, like, I guess, merge back into reality?
I think you don't fully ever transition back.
Uh-huh.
I think, especially in the Marine Corps, where they expect more from you. You show no emotion, no weakness. You take a lot of pride in everything. It's harder, and I don't think you fully transition back. Even when I was going to Cabrillo, after I came back, it's one of those things where I would always walk to the back of the room, to the corner where I could have a visual of the doors, the windows, and those things, because you always think you're still stuck in that moment. You know? Even nowadays, when I go to the stores, I always look for exits, like a blog, what's blocking it, what's this, what's that. The movie theaters, where's the exit? You never transition back completely. You always have that part of you, no matter where you go.
Yeah.
So
So then, what did you do when you came back? Right. This was your candles was later on, right?
Oh yeah.
Or was it right away? So, what did you do when you came back? You served in the police department, right?
No, I when I came back, well, before I joined the Marine Corps, I was what it's called, like deaf for Watson PD, and I volunteered for them for several years.
Yeah.
And then when I came back, what was my first job when I came back? Oh, working at Watson Coast Produce.
Okay. So you know the Manfreys.
No, I don't know. I only lasted there a few months because they something happened, and they okay. Well,
it was kind of one of those jobs where you just came in really quick and just.
Well, I got it because I needed a job. I couldn't get unemployment because I didn't have my DD-214, but I got it because my girlfriend, which was my wife after, was pregnant at the time. And so I wanted to get it back in the rhythm, get a job, and start being able to provide more. And then we lost our baby. And I was working Ultimate Coast Produce at the time. And when we had to make the decision, I had to make the decision of, it's a hard decision I had to make about our baby. And it was around the 4th of July. I think it was July 2nd. And I called in, hey, I'm not going to be coming in. We have to be at Stanford. Told us right away, this is what's going on. And the supervisor at the time thought it was a big lie, just so I could have the 4th of July off. I can't remember his name. And we were at Stanford. We lost our baby.
Sorry to hear that.
And then I went back to work after the 4th, and I took all the paperwork. I took all the paperwork. I was working the graveyard shift, and like, no, I believe you. No, you didn't believe me. Here's the paperwork, and he felt like shit, And but I was working. I think I was in the middle of my lunch, like 1 a.m., 2 a.m., and I walked away. I was so pissed off. I just left it there. And they kept calling me, "Are you okay?" You walked away, and I was like, you know what? Don't even talk to me.
Yeah.
I don't blame the company itself because they probably never had a clue.
Yeah.
I was just that supervisor that was there at the time. And because I had some of the other guys that were working with me, they're like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm okay." And I explained it to them. They're like, "Oh, no, that's messed up."
Yeah.
But then I started working at the boardwalk. I worked at the boardwalk. Never even went to the boardwalk the whole time I lived in that area,
Really?
Yeah, I was like, it didn't attract me.
So you didn't make it to the boardwalk until as an adult?
As an adult, never went as a kid. For some reason, I just... No,
Wasn't your thing?
That wasn't my thing.
Yeah.
I started working at the security department for the boardwalk from 04. From 04. So I was working on the boardwalk and the school district at the same time. Yeah, from 04 to 2013. I was one of the I was a sergeant for the security department. But I worked there for, several years. Until 2013. I left there and I started working for Metro, the transit district.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was totally different, going from... and I only started working... I didn't even think I was going to last that long at the border, but, I was working for the school district, but then as the board, they promoted me, and they offered me better pay, better benefits in the school district, so I'm like, okay, I'll take that.
Yeah.
So I was there, got deployed with the National Guard when I was at the boardwalk I was gone for about a year and a half. Did a lot of the training there, a lot of training for the officers. Managed a lot of patrol shifts in their summer. The summer could get really busy there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Shit, it could be crazy. I did that for several years. Went to Metro for the last... I was at Metro for almost 12 years?
12 years? Oh, right. So you've held jobs for a long period of time.
Yes, I was at the board for 10 years? No, 9 years. Then Metro for 12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like
Nice. So...
But doing multiple things.
at once.
Yeah.
So, do you think you benefited a lot in the sense that you had so many skills that you learned in the service that helped you out, in your post-civilian life?
Yes, and at the same time, even stuff you didn't learn in the service, you have to make it a point to try to educate yourself and learn as much as you can. Because you never know what one of those skills, even skills that you didn't learn in the service, that might come and help you in the future.
Yeah. Okay. So with that being said, I want to get into this, right? Veteran-owned business, Soy Tank Candle Company. What led you to this? and for those who are watching, right, you got some candles right here that he makes. Um, did it one day you're just like, I want to make candles?
So it was in the middle of the pandemic. Towards the end, you could say. I was working 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off with Metro.
Yeah.
They had us on call 24/7, but we were working 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off because we were only using a certain amount of buses, providing a certain amount of service, and I didn't want to be home not doing anything. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna start woodworking. I'm gonna try to build some benches and some tables, you know. And I did. I learned how to do them. And what else could I learn? You know, like, so I started researching. Hey, what could be a possible business in the future? And it popped out. The smallest growing business was candle making. So I'm like, okay, that's next. So I started. I think it was early 2022 when I started fully started making candles.
Yeah.
But I told myself that I was going to make my own vessels, and which I still do. But I first learned how to make the vessels, which is made out of concrete. They're like big bowls.
Yeah.
I started learning how to make those and several other ones. And then I'm like, okay, now I'm going to start making candles. I wasn't perfect at the beginning. People were still buying some of my candles. And I mean, I'm still not perfect. I'm still learning every day. And I'm grateful for some other candle makers that have helped me along the way.
Yeah.
And have guided me, you know, to where I'm at.
Well, I'll tell you this, and it doesn't, and it since 2022, it doesn't feel like you've been doing this for that long. I feel like you've been doing this for longer, you know. Let's see, this one's called "Hug Me." It's amazing. So yeah, like, so 2 years. I mean, what, we're in 2025 already. About 2 years you've been doing this. Okay. So what is it? Guide me through your process. Like, how do you make these?
Well, I mean, all the waxes I use have to be natural. I mean, predominantly I use soy wax, but I've used coconut wax too, and apricot wax. I have not tried beeswax yet, but everything has to be natural and non-toxic. My oils or fragrances have to be non-toxic.
Yeah.
Why? Because according to my doctor, I became allergic to nature.
Wait, what?
According to my doctor, I became allergic to nature. So every time I used to go out, I got sick. I got sick in 2018, and I started taking care of myself a lot. So I started running a lot. And being the Metro was down on River Street, you have Pogonip and it connects to UCS, on the trails up. So I used to go up there all the time. So I became allergic to everything up there.
Oh, wow.
You know, I was running a lot. I was running anywhere between 6 and 12 miles. I lost like 50 pounds. But when I became allergic, it freaked me out. So I stopped doing everything.
Oh, wow.
So I gained weight again and got into a program where they were going to treat my allergies because I became allergic to a lot of things.
So allergies as far as like outdoor stuff or just like even like foods?
Oh,
and stuff?
No food yet. Thank God. I don't want to know because I love food.
Yeah.
But so, and I used to go to Bath and Body Works when I started becoming allergic, and I still like candles. And right off the bat, you get headaches. You know?
Yeah.
You get a headache, and I'm like, I used to walk out. So when I started making my candles, I'm like, everything has to be natural and non-toxic.
Yeah.
So that's one of my points. Everything I use is natural, and it's non-toxic.
Okay.
Because I've had people here that have come and looking because they've heard from other people that they were there for 30, 40 minutes, no headaches, and some people buy my candles. They come back and buy more because they're like, I don't get headaches.
Yeah.
So and I used to get headaches every time, and I told them, basically they told me the same story that I did. Go to the Bath and Body Works or any other candle store, and right off the bat,
Yeah.
Like even though like sometimes you go to Target or one of those stores and it says soy, it's not soy.
That's soy. Yeah. Because I mean, just like everything, right? It's always some type of preservative or additives or things that shouldn't be consumed or smelled or humans should be around, you know?
Yeah.
So this is cool that you do non-toxic, practically organic wax. There's a few of them that I like. For those who don't know, they're gonna know right now. My favorite scent that he has. Okay, and don't shoot the messenger. All right. There's a scent that he has that I love, and it's called Butt Naked. So, how do you name your scents? Like, what is that your thought process when you're naming scents? I mean, they smell amazing, you know, but Butt Naked. I mean, that's my favorite scent.
Well, the butt naked itself, that's how it comes. I didn't even change the name.
Oh, just that was the name.
That was that name of that one. I just left that as it is.
Okay.
Because I'm like, why change it? And it's there.
Is it one of your highest sellers?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. The other ones, the moment you start mixing oils together, you have to give it your own name.
Yeah.
Even then, some of the oils you buy, sometimes you have to give it a name because I know Mahogany Teakwood got copyrighted by Bath and Body Works, so you have to give it a name regardless.
Yeah.
But the moment you mix your own oils, it's your own unique.
Yeah.
You have to give it your own name, and it depends on what I'm doing. Depends what I'm watching at the time. Then like, okay, if I'm watching a movie on deers or nature, and I'm like, kind of gives me that vibe. I'm like, I'm gonna call it that,
Because this one right here is called "In Case of Rainy Weather."
Well, no, that's the actual. That's just the. I was gonna say the brand, but it's not the brand. That's just the label, but on here, it's the Butt Naked.
Oh, yes.
In case of rainy weather, just in case of rainy weather, that's the collection you want to say, and then you have the name on the bottom.
So feel cozy and warm with a comforting scent of Butt Naked. Soytang Candle Company. Oh my gosh! Okay, this is it, guys. If you guys could smell what I'm smelling right now, I know for you sickos out there, it does not smell like butt, but it smells amazing. Oh, it's my favorite scent. Oh, man. Okay. And then we have one over here one over here. It's called I Need a Freaking Cup of Joe. And smell that. That's the smell of a mother effing cafecito. So this is cafecito flavor. Oh, yeah.
And the reason I did that label is because someone wanted a label like that.
Yeah.
So sometimes customers will say, "Could you make a certain label this way?" And I'll make it for them. And then other people wanted the same one. So,
and I'll tell you guys this. And like you say, like you're using natural ingredients, right? And you could smell the difference, right? Because I love candles, and I've gone to the store. There's always like a scent of like unnaturalness, like chemicaliness, in candles, like in general.
yeah.
And it's just one of those things. Like it's just you. But I smell this, and it straight up smells like coffee. It's like. It's like a mocha latte. That's what it smells like a rich mocha latte coffee drink. Yeah, I can't get enough of it. So, yeah, so 2 years, you're in the business. How was that transition, right? Because you're in the military, you work for the police department, right? You're working in Metro. How does a guy just all of a sudden, like I said, like you're looking for that next thing? Did you know that it was going to be a hit? Did you just kind of like, if it goes, it goes, or
Get it correct. Didn't work. Volunteer for the police department, sir.
volunteer? Yes, sir. Yes, sorry, volunteer. Forgive me. But how do you transition into something like this, and like it just works?
It just works.
Yeah,
You want to have to make it work.
yeah,
You know, if there's something that you want and it's something that you're looking for to be doing full time, you have to make it work. And you just gotta be really patient, dedicated to it, and just take one step at a time. Because candle making, it can be really profitable.
yeah.
You know,
And you have to be patient.
and there's gonna be better days than others. And most candle makers, especially big candle makers that I follow, some of them are pretty good about putting everything online on YouTube. So beginner candle makers don't make the same mistakes they did.
Yeah,
And most candle makers get discouraged after the first year, 2 years, because they don't see a lot of profit. But it's after that second year, going into the third, when you start seeing, the fruits of your labor. And it's a good thing, because not only it's a candle making, but I do classes. I do I do a few here, a few at the other places, UCSC, county buildings, That's because it's something different that they don't offer a lot in this area.
Yeah.
And people like it, We always get stuck in the same routine. Well, this is something different.
Yeah. That is awesome. I really enjoy, and like I said earlier, Ignacio and I share a workspace area. We have a common work area, and every time I come in, this place just smells amazing. I mean, as soon as I walk into like our space area, like it smells amazing, and I don't know, man. Like, I love it. Yeah, no, I love it. I appreciate it. Yeah. And so yeah, what would someone expect in the candle making classes that you give? Like, what's the process? What do you teach them? How do you?
Basically, just this didn't take long to make a candle. It's just the fact that you gotta be patient so it could cure. Those classes, basically, you start in introduction. Sometimes I choose the vessels themselves, whether it's cups, whether it's bowls that I make, or casualitas. Depends on what I'm offering. But sometimes I'll just have them choose their own vessels. They could choose whatever they want to do. Basically, from putting the wick on there to choosing their oils. That's the fun. That's one of the fun things that people like, choosing their own oils. Because most candle makers, even when you start, they tell you like, don't do more than 5 different aromas or scents.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna get overwhelmed. But when I started, I didn't follow that rule. I just went out and got about 20 to 25 of them, different ones.
Yeah.
Because my thing is that if you only have 5 types of aromas, by the time they get to the 5th one, if they haven't found something they like, they're gonna walk away.
Yeah.
So
giving options.
I give a lot of options.
Yeah. And how many scents would you say you have
right now? Like 60 plus.
Wow.
And
what's your number one seller?
Number one seller is always Palo Santo, Butt Naked, the Surf's Up. Are pretty good. The Surf's Up, I call it I think Pleasure Point now.
Oh, that's that one right there.
Yeah, it smells like that sex wax you put on the surfboards. And then the Monterey, which is like a sea salt and orchid. It's really popular. But number one sellers year round, Palo Santo, Butt Naked, Surf's Up, Café de Olla, which I just got some oils for that.
Yeah.
The last few days.
And I'm telling you, people, like, you smell it, it smells like the exact same thing. Like I said, the cup of coffee one, I smell it, and it feels like I have a cup of coffee in my hand.
Yeah, I mean, I just have a little bit of everything.
Yeah. What's your favorite smell? What is your all-time favorite smell of the candles that you have?
But it has to be like Palo Santo, and there's different types of Palo Santo.
Oh, okay.
Because I have the one that I've been doing. I have it. Actually, I just ran out. But then I got a I call it Palo Santo 2.0, which is a lot smokier.
Okay.
And because sometimes people want a little bit different thing.
Mm-hmm.
But Palo Santo overall, I mean, it's great. The library,
Ooh,
I call
okay.
it library.
That sounds intriguing.
It's not for everybody,
Okay.
but it's really good. The whiskey scent, a lot of guys like that one.
Okay.
The whiskey. Let me see what else. I made some mixtures. I may call one the what do I call it? I call it Atotonilco because that's where my parents are from.
Okay.
I mixed 2 or 3 different ones into that one. I made my own scent,
Nice.
and then I call one La Tortuga.
Tortuga.
It's kind of a fresh, beachy one.
Okay.
I made my own cafecito blend too, which I ran out. I haven't made it yet recently. And then I make my own blend, cafecito too, with a little bit of vanilla, cinnamon, chocolate, cafe, and I make my own blend, which is really good.
Nice.
But it's just there's so many.
Yeah.
There's so many.
So if someone wanted a soy tank company candle, where can they find it?
Send me a message on Instagram. Still working on my online store. It's a process. I'm not really tech savvy, but I'm working. I'm learning, and it should be done in the next month or so. But if not, stop by the shop, 80 Airport Boulevard, Suite 206, upstairs, Arte del Corazon.
There you go.
We're here.
Yeah.
All the time.
And I'll tell you guys, like I said, like the minute you walk in, you're just gonna get hit with different aromas, and it's just amazing. So recommend it. 80 Airport Boulevard, Suite 206, here at Arte de Corazon, where we are located. And so, what do you envision? What's your goal? What's your vision for your company moving forward? I mean, 2 years in, you have 60 plus cents. You do a lot of pop ups. You do a lot of events.
I do a lot of events, a lot of farmers markets, a lot of pop ups. But my goal is to have a brick and mortar, like a store downtown.
Mm-hmm.
Not only for as a store, but I see that I've been involved more with the arts lately over the last year and a half, 2 years. And I see, even though there's art organizations in this area, I see that there's still not enough opportunities for artists to showcase their work.
Uh-huh.
So I want to have a store where not could I only have a candle bar. So a candle bar basically, on any given day, you're walking down the street and says, you know what, I want to make a candle.
Mm-hmm.
I have my store with my candle bar there. You can walk in and make your own candle and take it that same day.
Okay.
You know, and do classes obviously too. But I also want to be able to have a store where I could showcase a new artist every weekend. You know, every Friday night or Saturday night.
Yeah.
Do a little gallery for that artist. You know, showcase their work. Because I don't see that a lot around here, and I know, been working with a lot of artists lately. I see that they don't have that. You know, they don't have that opportunity a lot. So I want to be able to provide that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and we talked, right, that we need to come together, right, and push the arts out, push businesses out, because everyone has a talent, everyone has something to showcase, you know, and that's so cool, you know, that's your goal and that's what you want to do, with yourself and your company and everything. What other things are you involved in? I mean, like you said, you've just been involved with Arte de Corazon for the past couple of years.
Lately, Arte del Corazon, the BFW, helping with the BFW, trying to get it back up. I mean, it's running, but it got let go for a little bit, so it needed a lot of maintenance, a lot of cleaning. We're trying to get that place back up. Recently, it was the president for Smart Local 23, so I've been involved a lot with labor organizations, unions, for a while, up until at least think July.
Uh-huh.
That was I let that put aside for now for a bit.
Yeah.
A lot of volunteering
Yeah.
for other organizations, whether it's the food banks, nonprofits that need help. Do a lot of volunteering for PVPSA whenever they need it. We did the food banks for during COVID for like almost a year,
Mm-hmm.
almost every Friday for a year. We did that. I mean, just a lot of nonprofits, a lot of work, a lot of volunteering,
Yeah. Yeah.
I haven't been really doing one specific one lately, but it's just been a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great, Ignacio. Like it's cool. If because the VFW is a nonprofit, right?
Yes.
Okay. If someone were to want to donate to the VFW, where can they donate?
They could even send me a message directly or send a message to our email, bfw1716@gmail.com, or stop by the BFW. Usually on Thursdays and Fridays, there's someone there in the afternoon,
Mm-hmm.
and just talk to them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. No, that's awesome, man. Man, I love your candles. We work together, with Arte. And it just seems that your willingness to give, your time, your resources and help others out. And I gotta ask, what does Ignacio do to just unwind? What is it? Because I mean, candles. I know you spend a lot of time, but what is it that Ignacio does to unwind, to just relax on his downtime?
I don't think I have downtime. I think I'm always on the go. I think I'm always busy.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to get downtime right now. I mean, it's not possible. I mean, that's not impossible.
Yeah,
But once you're focused on something, you just
on the go.
you just go.
Yeah,
If I have a little bit of time, I'll just catch a show here and there, or I have a lot of books. I collect books. I love books. I got like 400 books.
Oh, wow.
Maybe 500 books.
that is something I did not know.
I collect books. I have a lot of them. I have a lot of old books. Some from the 1600s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
So you got a library at home?
a little bit. Yeah. They're scattered everywhere. But eventually, that's one of my goals too. Is just to build a small library.
Yeah.
Because books are never going to go. Technology could go, and books are always going to be there.
Yeah.
So back in the day, what people do for free time, read a book.
Yeah.
So hobbies, whenever I have time, I do go out and search for books. I haven't done that in a while, but that or just go to the movie theater.
Yeah.
Just catch a movie. I go by myself most of the time. I got used to it after my divorce.
Yeah.
Doesn't bother me. I thought the first time I went, I thought it was gonna be weird.
Yeah.
And I'm looking around. I'm like, wait a minute, that's by myself. That person's by myself. Like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah,
It's a thing I do too. I go to the movies by myself.
yeah. And it's just like it's just normal nowadays.
Yeah.
You see a lot
Peace
of
and
people.
quiet. Me time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But other than that, I used to hike a lot. Not recently, because of all the allergy thing, but want to get back to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Well, if I have time.
If you have time. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, when I make time.
Okay.
Not when I make time.
Yeah. No, that's great, man. It's really good. One of the things, towards the end, I always ask people, right? You give advice on someone that is wanting to join the military, right? But what piece of advice do you have for just in general, like for people watching this, like what words of wisdom you got for the people watching this?
Be kind.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, there's so much animosity with everything, with everyone. Just be kind.
Yeah.
And if you can help someone, do it, because eventually someone's gonna help you out someday.
Mm-hmm.
But there's too much violence in this world right now. Too much animosity with everybody, with each other. And take a step back and slow down too.
Yeah.
Take a deep breath. Because we're also always on the go, and we're always going 1,000,000 miles per hour, that sometimes we forget to take care of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, because if we don't take care of ourselves, who is,
Yeah.
So be kind, take care of yourself, and make time for yourself.
Yeah.
Nowadays, a lot of us are so focused on a lot of things that we forgot that we matter too. If we don't take care of ourselves, whether it's like you said, unwinding or going to the gym or just going for a walk,
Yeah.
that goes a long way.
Yeah. There's a slogan at my school where I work at. It says, "Be the eye and kind."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys heard that here. Be the eye and kind. Yeah. That's great, Ignacio. I appreciate that you took the time to come out here. And it was a couple months in the making. Trying to schedule this. Busy during the end of the year and everything. But I appreciate for what you shared. What you opened up on. And I know it's not easy.
No.
And I think that this will give people a different light. And who you are. And again, this is a veteran-owned business that buy candles. That's what I'm saying. Buy candles. Soy Tank Candle Company. What's your IG handle? At soy.
That's Soy Tank.
At Soy Tank Candles Company on Instagram. So make sure you guys jump on Instagram. Website up soon. And yeah, man, I appreciate your time, and thank you for coming out again, and thank you for everything that you've done in your service. And I know people say it sometimes just to say it, but like I genuinely say like thank you, because I can only imagine and what you had to sacrifice for our safety here in this country. And so there's never ever a way to thank, but always just gracias.
Yeah.
So, Ignacio, thank you again for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Guys, check it out. Soy Tank Candles. Make sure you guys stay tuned for the next episode. Thank you very much for watching. Until next time, God bless.